You guys, I'm literally wearing the ripped skinny jeans, okay? I'm not gonna lie, I completely forgot how tight they are. What were we thinking? What were we thinking? It's so uncomfortable wearing them. We're gonna talk about 2014 Tumblr aesthetic today. And we're going to rank different things that were popular at the time. Specifically, of course, these things are going to be a little bit biased in terms of what I'm actually talking about, like which parts of the 2014 aesthetic I'm talking about, because they are going to be influenced by what I've seen the most and what I actually wore, for example. Unlike some other videos where I talk about aesthetics and stuff, in this case, like I can't say anything about this aesthetic that wouldn't be technically me talking about something that I've done, okay? Maybe not everything, but a lot of the things. I'm just not the one to talk, okay? Clearly. My own damn Tumblr posts are gonna be referenced here. My own Instagram posts. Look at them. Like, this is quintessentially 2014 content with a few things from, 2015. Photos in the mirror at parties. And the funniest thing, I had hashtags below those images, and I posted them on Tumblr, and the hashtags were like something like, oh, just saw a guy at a party peeing with the door open. Hashtag traumatized. We have 5 tiers, pretty standard. The middle one is mid. The top S tier is going to be, this is the best tea I've ever had. Girlfriend, stop, get back in the car is for the things that I think that we should have been stopped from doing. Maybe someone should have told us that this is ridiculous and stupid, And the last one is Dear God, where did you go? Thank you, Drew Gooden, for this one. So, the generous and hudgeons at Coachella, and Coachella in general. Listen, I personally did not like this aesthetic. Obviously, some of it is cultural appropriation, but aside from that, the whole boho, specifically Coachella flavored boho aesthetic, actually anything that people wear at Coachella kind of makes me want to puke most of the time. Sorry about that. I'm not trying to be a dick, but like, come on now.
Excuse me,
No. Even nowadays, I still hate it. Obviously, some outfits are just like inoffensive enough that you can't really be mad at them. Just don't understand why it's so popular, considering how bad the fashion is there and like why everyone thinks it's a fashion event when everyone looks this bad. Whatever. This one is gonna go into Dear God, where did you go? Because I personally hate this. I do. I can't lie to you guys. I can't. I don't like this aesthetic even when it's done well. Just not my personal taste. Most of the time it's also done terribly at this event. So I just hate it. And especially the Coachella in 2014. The next one is Charli XCX in her pop rock era. This is the time where she kind of got into the mainstream. Charli had a pretty interesting career pivot. I'm gonna tell you what. I was not like a fan of hers at the time. I kind of got more into her when she released that EP, Vroom Vroom. That's when I was like, well, now this sounds interesting. This is kind of visionary considering that this is this thing that's really popular nowadays. I don't feel particularly strongly about any of it. I am glad that we got a starlet out of that era, someone who, makes great music, but I don't feel any particular way about it. Dip dyed hair. So this one, it can be done well. It's not like I am against it across the board, but personally, I think that it is kind of one of those things that don't look as good as you would hope. I feel like the amount of times I've seen people really want this hairstyle because they saw a picture that kind of looked good. They do it and it's just a mess, mostly because it is also a mess for the person who was in that picture. It's just that picture itself looked good, but day to day this hairstyle usually looks kind of meh, especially if you have this mid-tone kind of hair as I do, for example, right? Like if you have black hair or you have blonde hair, like blonde is in almost platinum blonde, I think that you can look good, but when it comes to the mid-tones, I just don't like it. I feel like it always looks muddy. I think I'm gonna go with Girlfriend, stop! Get back in the car! And I'm sorry. I know that a lot of you are probably kind of nostalgic for this hairstyle as well. I just can't do it. I just can't. Hosier. First album. That was my shit. I'm not gonna lie. On my birthday, I was in a car with my friend, singing Arsonist Lullaby. Staring into open flame. Screaming it even though you're not really supposed to be screaming it. It was my That whole entire album, I absolutely adored it. Sedated, work song, they were just doing it for me. I don't know. I am going to put it in, it's like in between. Actually, no, let's put it in between. The Arctic Monkeys craze. That one was big. And also in this image, like the one at the top, isn't that the most 2014 thing you've ever seen? Notebook, everything is black and white. Even all the pictures that I showed you from that time were black and white. And I am like a color, you know. This specific album, AAM, I went to a festival that had Arctic Monkeys performing there, and it was a mess, girl. It was a mess. I think most of the day was like, okay, like there were different types of performances, whatever, but Arctic Monkeys, everyone came there for the Arctic Monkeys, and it was nuts. The crowd was standing all close to each other. We were like sardines or some shit like that, you know, like so close together. I was standing right next to these two dudes that were so tall and were jumping up and down, and I don't know what they were on, but they were out of it completely, and they just kept on like jumping on my feet and stuff, and I'm like, do you know how many tons you weigh? Like, don't jump on my feet. You're like at least twice my size. I remember that I came home and my shoes were done. I had to throw them out. I just felt like I was covered in dirt because everyone was jumping up and down and there was so much dust being lifted off the ground. Honestly, if I could, I would watch every single concert ever of all of my favorite artists in well-decorated room with a table, nice drinks and food while they're performing on the stage, with other tables being quite far away from me and my party, the acoustics being great, atmosphere is nice with a great light design in the room, you know. That's how I would prefer to watch my concerts, but of course they are always a mess with people being high out of their mind, jumping around, and like I understand to a certain extent that this could be fun, and sometimes it is, but it's just, I feel like every time that happens, there's always someone literally on you, like there's always some guy that's like rubbing up on you or some other shit like that. Basically, I just want my space. I want my space bubble, okay? I want to be as far away as possible from everyone, thank you. In any case, I feel like it's not just an album because it had this whole cult following around it. The aesthetics of like the way that people were dressing and everything was fitting with this vibe, you know? So I feel like this is a quintessential 2014 experience of an album. I wouldn't just call it an album, honestly. Like, I feel like it's not sufficient enough, you know? It's definitely going into the best tea I've ever had. That was great. As much as I love Hozier's album, I like it more than AM. It did not create this crazy aesthetic around it, you know, and people being obsessed with it. Lana, Ultraviolence era. I mean, I understand that there's gonna be a lot of music here, but it's just what it is, girl. I don't know what to tell you. So Ultraviolence actually was the album that kind of turned me off of Lana entirely. I'm sorry, you guys, but I was tired of her old man bullshit and dating violent men or like dating gross men and then making music about it. I was like, ew, like I'm over this. I've always kind of ignored her lyrics most of the time because I just don't relate. I have no interest in wasting my time on any of those people that she writes songs about, but I just enjoyed the aesthetic of the music, the sonic kind of landscapes that she creates, but I'm not like lyrically interested in what she has to offer. So this particular album was the one that kind of lost me. Like, it lost my interest entirely. I just kind of forgot about her until Norman fucking Rockwell came out, actually, because I was just like, I don't know, I don't care anymore. Like, I would hear one or two songs here and there until that album came out, and all of a sudden I was like, oh wait, that's why I liked her. Goddamn man child. Like, this is good, you know? This album was kind of something I do not like because it turned me off of Lana and turned me off of listening to her for a really long time. I'm sorry if it's your favorite album and whatever. I don't even remember this album. I'm sure that there's a couple of songs that were really pretty, but I just was so sick and tired of listening to the same things, lyrically speaking. Vine. Yeah, this is a blurry image of Bo Burnham. I don't know what to tell you. It was so weird because it created a format for comedy, I guess, that was so interesting. Like, it was so constricting in terms of the time frame that it became a vehicle to creating new types of online comedy, you know? So I personally think that that was actually a great thing that happened. There are quite a few people that this platform gave us a lot of shitty influencers and just terrible content creators and a bunch of really great ones as well. A bunch of commentary YouTubers came from Vine. It was a good time. Leather jackets. Whenever I think about it, it kind of makes me think of all the people that we followed on Instagram. Funny thing is, leather jackets never really go out of style per se, but this is the specific era of moto leather jackets. I feel like most people were wearing those like khaki parkas. Some people were wearing leather jackets. Not a lot, I guess. It was mostly an online thing. Oh my god, I swear to if you can hear this annoying ass sound that's coming from the outside, I will lose it. It's not gonna be on you, of course. It's just gonna be on me that I did not realize that it was loud enough to be picked up by the mic. But in any case, I remember that. You know what it makes me think of? PLL.
I would have done anything for Charlotte.
You proved that when you married her cousin.
The PLL cast, and especially Ashley Benson and how big she was back then in terms of being like kind of an influencer or a big influence in terms of fashion, makeup, hair, and Instagram aesthetics. I would say that this was in between "'Twas a Good Time" and "This is the best tea I've ever had." It's not like it's so unique, but it's one of those things that doesn't really get that much out of style. It aged pretty well. It's definitely one of those trends that make 2014 look more flattering than unflattering. Right? So I would put it in there because I think that we all had a pretty good time with that whole aesthetic. On the topic of that, let's place the fishnet stockings. This was definitely big back then, especially wearing fishnet stockings under jeans. And I think that it was a good time. It was cute. I will always like this grungy kind of style, not to the point where I'm like obsessed with it or something like that, but I will always have fondness for it. And of course, while we're talking about that, we have to rank oversized flannels in mid. I don't particularly love them nowadays. I feel like it's just this lumberjack look that the longer you live in Canada, the more annoyed you get at seeing flannels. It's just like everyone's got a flannel and everyone's wearing it 24/7, you know? It gets annoying. Back then, when I was in Canada only for like 2 years, I was like, this is cute or whatever. Now I don't want to see it. Fault in Our Stars. When I read it, I cried a lot, okay? Of course, when I read it, I was also 16. I would say that it's not that I think that this book is bad. I think that I would have to like reread it to actually have a strong opinion on it. But now that I've had cancer, I don't know, girl. A lot of literature that revolves around cancer is gimmicky and insufficient to me, at least, you know, and I don't know. Did I think at 16 that I was gonna have cancer at 24? No, but here we are. And I'm gonna put this book in mid. It's not bad, it's not good, it's just there. Speaking of John Green, let's talk about Cara Delevingne. She was everywhere back then. Absolutely everywhere. She was the biggest model there was. Even people who knew nothing about the modeling industry knew that girl with the brows, you know, like she kind of kickstarted this obsession with the brows at the time. By the way, yeah, the brows were crazy back then, and I would probably put the brows and the girlfriend stop, get back in the car, because we were going overboard. We had so many beauty gurus who were telling us what to do, who were just not cocaine. It was just not cute. Okay, not gonna be roasting everyone that harshly. Let me turn the light on because it's getting dark outside. So she was literally everywhere, and after that she got into acting, and I think that the first big role, at least that I remember, that she got was with one of the adaptations of John Green's books. But then everyone kind of realized that she does not have the charisma that she has in photos. She does not have it as an actress. Like, she just doesn't, I don't know, it just didn't carry over, I guess. I would say that personally, I do not understand the huge hate that she got back then from some people, and I also did not understand the huge praise. I was kind of like, oh, this is a cute look, or yeah, I like the eyebrows with the light hair kind of thing, right? But it wasn't anything special. It wasn't anything that she should have been getting a lot of hate or praise for, so I'm gonna put it in mid. 1989, Taylor Swift's biggest record. I mean, it was her biggest record until now, until Midnights came out. I think that Midnights is probably, it's kind of like an older sister to the 1989. The older sister because she is a bit more tired, you know, like she's not as peppy as the 1989 is. 1989 was that bitch, honestly. I think that this is this is probably Taylor Swift's best mainstream work. To me, Folklore is also great. I am also a fan of Speak Now. For example, I'm a Speak Now bitch. I will tell you right away that this album turned people around. She had like a pretty bad reputation, mostly because of misogyny at that point. It wasn't anything else. It was just people being misogynistic. And I think that a lot of people were kind of scared to say that they liked her. And then she released 1989, and there was like this whole outpour of love for her, and a lot of people kind of got turned to liking her. This is a really, really good record in terms of what it did for her career. Obviously, like for example, I don't particularly like Shake It Off. I wouldn't say that every song is her best written song on that album, but I do think that overall this is one of those albums that actually made a lot of sense for her career at that point and made her massive. Like she was already a really, really big star, but I think that 1989 put her on this kind of level that's hard to reach. Like she's an international star. The sales in terms of the popularity, even the way that they rolled that album out, I really loved the idea of Polaroids being like used as a visual language for the album and everything. I think it was well done, timely. It was right before the 80s pop wave, you know. Actually, this was 2014. She did a whole album of 80s sounds, pop sounds, and The Weeknd and Dua Lipa came in 2020. So she was like 6 years ahead of the peak 80s pop sound. That was pretty good of her, actually. I respect that. I do. One Direction. Obviously, this is not the entirety of One Direction. This is just hairstyles. That was a time, okay? I was late to the party. I was never into pop bands until later on. And I kind of got into it because everybody I knew, every one of my friends was into One Direction, and I got into them quite late. I think that it was around the time of Midnight Memories, and I think that was 2014. I'm not entirely sure, don't quote me on that, but I think it was around that time. So I did go to their concert a year later or 2 years later, whenever that was. What I learned from that whole experience is that fandoms are really, really important for the bands to be successful, or for anything to be very, very successful. Obviously you need fans, but fandoms are very useful tools to creating something that can get more people into the thing, mostly because those bastards were funny, okay? Those Directioners were funny. I got into them because the Twitter jokes were kind of just really doing it for me, you know? I think that it is definitely one of the reasons why a lot of people get into things like One Direction, BTS, and whatever. It's the fandom and how funny they can be. Of course, there are so many delusional people in those fandoms because they're just too massive to not be like 30% delusional at least. But I do remember that a lot of the humor was what kind of made me even pay attention to them, because like, yeah, I knew they existed, yeah, they were like really massive, and yeah, I've heard their music, but it wasn't as interesting to me until I saw like a lot of like inside jokes that they had, and I kind of realized that some of them were really funny. I am going to put it into 'Twas a Good Time. I mean, actually, maybe I should put them This Is the Best Tea I've Ever Had, because that was a big thing for that time, and I think it's gonna be a big thing for a lot of people until the day they die, honestly. Liquid lipsticks. Girl, I hate those bitches. Obviously I had some, okay? I did, and I tried so hard. Like I used them quite a few times. I was really trying to make them work for me, but the fact that the way that they wear off is just so unflattering. It's insane, and you cannot reapply it without removing the entirety of it and then reapplying it. There's no way to do like just a little touch up. Nowadays I realize that it's just easier to reapply your lipstick 5 times a day instead of putting it on in the morning and then having a crusty anus looking mouth.
I don't know what the fuck just happened.
I'm so sorry about that. No, this goes into the lowest tier imaginable. Thank God for the popularization of moussey tints that kind of originated in Korea. Thank fuck for those, honestly, because this was a dark time for us, and I think that we should all sit down and reflect and never do like that again. Thank you. Stupid ass quotes. Listen, I remembered the Tumblr quotes, and we are here to talk about 2014 Tumblr. Of course I remembered, okay? However, did not expect to go to my Tumblr that I haven't used in like years, go all the way back to 2014 and find a bunch of these quotes on my own damn page. This guy is sad, just like your eyes. I mean, girl. All those who were seen dancing were thought to be insane by those who could not hear the music. Of course, the Arctic Monkeys gif, and it says, "I think you should know you're his favorite worst nightmare." Girlfriend, stop! Manic pixie dream girl galore. Make your life a story worth telling. The individualism of teenagehood. None of us are that interesting or that unique, I'm just saying. And honestly, it's the best when you live your life in such a peaceful way that it's not a very good story. That's the way to live. Because yeah, my life has been, does it mean that it's enjoyable? Debatable. So I think we're gonna put it in girlfriend stop, get back in the car. Someone should have stopped us and someone should have told us to get back in the fucking car, to be honest. My voice is giving up on me. Man buns were a thing. I do want to put them in girlfriend get back in the car because I think it was definitely overused. I'm not saying that it looks bad on everybody. It's more of a thing that everybody was wearing. Every guy had a man bun, and I feel like it's just not a thing that suits a lot of people. So it was a dark time for us because a lot of guys who shouldn't have had a man bun had a man bun. And also just the name of it, just call it a bun, man bun my ass. I was happy to see on my Tumblr though that even in 2014, so like 8 years ago or some shit like that, I was an FKA Twigs girly. I was. The 1975 had their moment at that point. I think their first album came out around that time. Their second album was right behind it. I really enjoyed their second album. Their second album is probably my favorite album. One of my favorite albums ever. Really enjoyed that. And also, it was kind of like a good time in my life. It was like a soundtrack to me running around downtown Vancouver when it's like pouring rain and all the neon lights are like reflecting on the ground, It's such a good type of music to listen to in that kind of environment. They are going into this is the best tea I've ever had. Beyonce had her Beyonce era. I'm going to put it in Twas a Good Time, even though the album, it's not her best album. Lemonade definitely beats that one, but at the same time, it was an era with her You Wake Up Flawless situation going on, which was great. Her Partition song, oh my god, Partition, come on now. And it was, it was the time before Beyonce was one of the girls who took back a cheater, it was a better time for all of us. Did I put a few things in the S tier that should be a little bit lower? Sure, but I felt like being a little bit more positive today because I just went to check up with my oncologist and I'm still in remission, bitches. So I am in a good mood and I had a little cream puff that was really sweet and nice, so it's reflected in my rankings, okay? Let me know what you think. Let me know what was your quintessential 2014 experience. If you are a younger Gen Z, let me know which part of it seems to be something that you would want to experience the most, because I've seen a lot of shit on TikTok of people just romanticizing out of that era, and I'm just curious. Thank you for watching. I will see you soon, you guys. Bye.